Hello and welcome to episode 14, I think it is now, of How Do You Solve a Problem Like Korea. Now, it's been a bit of a break for me. Haven't had a chance to play for a few weeks, and I have been thinking about my current situation and what best to do about it. Now, my biggest issue, obviously, is the fact that Ming has just declared me a rival. I suspect that is because I simply became large enough and powerful enough to be considered a rival, which I certainly wasn't when I started. She probably doesn't have much else that they can use as rivals at the moment. Yep, looks like just me, that. Now, obviously, they want me to be a rival because they want power projection and all those good things, which is understandable on their part, but very unfortunate for me. Now, I've been having a look round, or off camera as it were, for a little while, to see if I can find any likely allies that are going to be good people to try to help counterbalance Ming. And to be honest, I can't really see any. Everybody seems to be either okay with Ming, or just so weak that they're not really going to be of any use and are probably highly unlikely to actually assist or join in an alliance at all. Now, whilst the problem with Ming declaring me a rival is twofold. One is, of course, is the threat they provide to my existence, considering they've got something like 60,000 manpower and 60,000 troops, some stupid volume that I can't possibly fight against. The second is that even though when we were allied, they only ever treated it as a defensive alliance, which is to say that they were never willing to join in my wars of conquest, I'm sure it was a huge help in keeping other nations off my back, the thought that if they took me on, they'd be taking on the Ming steamroller as well, and they weren't really willing to do that. That support has now gone, so I need to be doubly careful that I don't overstretch myself. Now, in terms of my options, I've been thinking long-term options, well, medium-term to long-term. In terms of technology, I am soon to have another idea group which will open up some new tactics to me. So what should that idea group be? Well, it can't be another military idea group, regardless of how useful that may be. And the use of that would be limited anyway because I would be splitting my military points between the two and trying to tech up my military tech level. So it would probably be rather weak and not a massive... I'd spread myself too thinly in that sense, so it can't be a military, that's out. So that leaves with either an admin or a diplomatic. Now at the moment I'm getting a lot more admin points than I am diplo points, but that's partly because of the national focus that I've selected, and I can change that quickly enough if I want to. So really I'm free to pick. I think if this one's currently got -1 power because of the... because it's not a focus, so if I switched, in that case +2 because it is, if I switched it, that would then go up 3 points to 6, and that would drop 3 points to down to 4, so that would not be completely undoable. So I don't have the freedom to choose either. So in terms of, it's a question then of what gives me the most utility. What's the best option? Well, as I said, I do want to explore. I want to clear this fog of war, or this terra incognita around here. I'd like to get to North America and start colonizing there at some point. I would like to colonize these lands down here because they are uncolonized, and several of these are also, although they are all tropical, which would slow things down considerably. I would also like to discover Australia and colonise that. As I said early on, my ambition is to have the Pacific Rim to be a Korean empire. And part of that is, I think if I can establish some colonies down the west coast of North America and into Central America, it should be relatively easy to get a border with a Spanish or Portuguese colony in Central America, as they generally colonise that area. That would give me the option to westernise by having a neighbour, a border with a western nation, which would improve my, although it's a long and painful journey to westernise, it would improve my tech levels considerably and would help me dominate Asia. So that would be useful. But what do I pick? Now there's a few things that are options. Espionage could be useful to try to undermine Ming and split them up, but to be honest I think they're pretty stable, and so I'm not sure how useful that would be. Also, of course, the point to remember with any of these is that you have got to unlock, it's the start of a path, you've got to unlock these by investing further either diplo points or admin points to get the full benefits of them. So it's not like it's an immediate I win button or anything close to it. So I could go for exploration here, which would give me explorers. I mean, there's expansion as well, which seems to be designed with Russia in mind, or Muscovy to turn into Russia in order for their expansion eastward into Siberia and towards Asia and towards the Pacific, because it gives you the colonists, but it does not give you explorers, so you can't set sail on the seas to uncover unknown areas. This one does, so that would be useful to me. To try to uncover these things. I'm not sure though that I've got the financial base to support that as yet, and I've got more immediate problems, like Japan hates me, understandably, as I've taken some of their land. I say I've got this big border with Ming, which I may have to defend in the near future. So I've got a feeling that would actually be more useful as a third or fourth idea, not as a second one. Could go maritime, which is always in order to try and keep Ming off my back, but again I've still got primarily a land border. That may be useful in the future if I'm able to complete the conquest of Japan. As a last ditch attempt is to use the same strategy that England can use against France, which is to use the sea as your moat and so transfer the capital across to the Japanese islands. And therefore if you lose land you're not losing the capital, it gives you more resilience. But again, that's a bit too long term and doesn't really address the problems I've got at the moment. What my biggest disadvantage with Ming is my lack of manpower. Mine maximum currently is 25,000, I think theirs is around 60,000. I can check in a bit for that. Now, admin ideas would be part of that. They call it administration ideas, but really it seems to be mostly around mercenaries, this one, which would be quite handy in that sense. First one reduces mercenary costs by a quarter, which is good because mercenary costs and maintenance is higher than regular troops. Core creation cost would be reduced, which is handy if you're conquering, because it's you do need to core these things to make them part of your sort of core empire, your homelands as it were. Mercenary maintenance down by a third, also very useful. Interest per annum, not bad. I mean, a little it's handy, I suppose, if you're if you're in trouble and you're taking loads of loans to try to fund the mercenaries. This at least reduces the consequence of all those loans, which is good. Available mercenaries, an additional 50%, could be very handy. Stops that pool exhausting. Again, if you're throwing loads of them at, which you'd have the option of doing if you have the extra. You know, the reduced costs and the extra bodies to use. Admin efficiency, possible advisors +1, bit marginal but not bad. Admin tech cost reduced. Again, not reduced tech cost. Tech cost is always good, but again doesn't really fit with the rest. And then finally, goods produced, which again finishes off with an economic one there. That would be good, but with most of them being mercenary. I've got a feeling that using that one really relies on me A, being in war to be of maximum use, and B, using mercenaries in that war to be of maximum use. If I'm at peace, I'm not getting much benefit from most of those. And I do intend to have a fair bit of peaceful expansion. So what's the other options then? These influence ones are quite good, but again that'll be handy when I'm a bit bigger. Diplomatic ideas to try and keep people on side, try to extra diplomats so you can have more people out doing whatever you need them to do. Additional relations so that you can have more alliances and such like. Reducing war exhaustion is good. Improve relations quicker is good. Diplomatic rep is good. They're all good for trying to keep people on side, if that's the route I want to go. Diplo attack cost, and then load stability from doing naughty things in diplomacy. Load stability costs. I'm leaning towards economic ideas because the fact is money is always useful. You need a big war chest if you're going to go into war. You need something to hire those mercenaries if your manpower runs out, and you need something to pay off those loans afterwards that you may well use. If you start spamming mercenaries, you're going to need more cash than you've got, no matter how big your war chest is. So making more cash is always useful for that. The two main ones for that, economic and trade. These are useful. Additional merchants to go into putting merchants into trade nodes, centers of trade to try to get extra cash from them. Global trade power increase, trade range. Again, another merchant. and gain another merchant, so you can get 3 extra merchants. Very powerful, but I don't have enough overseas stuff. I don't have the range. I mean, if I completed that, I wouldn't have anything to do with those 3 merchants. I think I doubt I'd be in reach of enough trade ports to actually use them anyway. So I'm not sure that one's useful yet. Again, further down the chain, if I do manage to get my overseas empire, it could be extremely useful, very, very powerful. Then this, I'm leaning towards economic. National tax modifier increase is the first one. Build cost reduction. I want lots of buildings, because buildings can increase your trade, they can increase your tax income, they can increase your manpower, your naval force limit, all sorts of things. So they can be very handy. So builder costs is always useful, and the earlier you get it in the game, the more useful it is, because the more things you're going to be building once you've got it. Inflation reduction, great, especially if at some point if I manage to conquer a gold mine or 2, because they give you permanent inflation if you have too many of them. Inflation's also a consequence of taking loans, of course. Reduced interest, useful again. So this is useful if you are spamming those loans in wartime to try to raise mercenaries or whatever. Interest means basically, obviously, you're not paying much additional cost. Centralisation for autonomy change, useful following wars. Newly conquered lands usually have high autonomy, which means you don't get much benefit in terms of manpower or tax. Bringing that down more quickly, great. Land maintenance modifier, always handy, especially as your army size gets bigger. Production efficiency, more cash, good. And finally, development cost, reduced. That's also useful. So I'm leaning towards that, because, say, you're always spending money peace and war, so therefore it's possibly more useful than this far more war-focused one here. So I'm going to do that. Now, another option. At the moment, the chances of Ming declaring war on me, they can't do that right this second. This says plus 71. When I unpause the game, that's probably going to drop further. They're probably going to say they want my... at the moment I'm still getting the benefit from all of those improved relations, but the fact that they declared a rival means they're probably going to start coveting my land, and that'll drop still further as a consequence of that. But right now, if I look at their diplomacy, they've got a royal marriage, which means that if they go to war to me, they've got no casus belli anywhere, so they've got no justification for war against me right now. But for all I know, there's a diplomat of theirs secretly working at a claim on one of my provinces right now. So that's nothing to rely on. That's not going to last. The royal marriage would cause some stability loss if they declared, but frankly they can break the marriage ties beforehand. So again, that's not a massive defence either. And secondly, we are still sending them trade power, which historically is realistic. Korea was one of the nations which sent tribute to Ming, as most of those in the area did during this period, so that could be taken to represent that quite well. Whilst I'm transferring trade power, they cannot declare on me. Again, great. But doesn't mean that's going to last. They could cancel that any time as well. So there's a few things they've got to do before they can declare on me, but that could still happen quite quickly. But at least it means I'm not going to get a declaration right this minute, or I shouldn't anyway, famous last words. Now, one tactic when I last played England, a game I'm still going on, which I'm not recording, to help keep France in check, because where England starts in 1444, they do still have lands in France, such as Normandy. I released Normandy as a vassal, and I turned them into a march, which basically is a military-orientated vassal, gives them additional defences, additional manpower, that kind of thing. But you don't get any tribute from them. You don't get any taxes, money, cash from them. But that could be an option. If I could release, I've got a long land border here. I could, if I keep it, I definitely need to build at least one more fort, probably here or here. To try to reduce their movements across in the event of an invasion. But if I release it as a march, they'll build their own, and it might put them off. I mean, it certainly wouldn't be powerful enough to stop them, but it's a bit like stopping somebody robbing your house. You can never stop a really determined burglar from breaking in, but what you can do is make your house less appealing than everybody else's. And that's kind of what I'd like to do. Make them feel that they've got all of these other borders. They've got Tibet, they've got Mongyang, Ava, and all these other places which they certainly have conquered. Some of them, and they've taken a Divet. So it's quite possible that they would rather concentrate on their southern border, which would suit me fine. So if I could just make myself less appealing as a prospect, perhaps I can persuade them to focus elsewhere, at least until I'm a bit bigger and a bit richer and more likely to be able to survive a war with them. So if I can remember, because I say it's been a few weeks since I played this last, if I can remember where is the screen that I release vassals from. Feeling a bit stupid now. That's not a new experience for me. Create subjects. There we are. Who they receive? Let's have a look. Cochin looked like the one. They would receive Chengdi, Chaha. Again, I know I'm butchering the pronunciation. Jirem. I don't really want them to have that one. Cigar, Border, and Sartu? Where's Sartu? Sartu. I'd rather they have this one down here, but that's an option. They'd have others. That would be a thing. Is though that would be a big hit on my manpower, but I am tempted to release them. Release them as a march. It could be handy. That would be this area here. That would be quite sizable. What kind of manpower and things does this place have? 481, 160, manpower down here. 335, 58. It's not bad, not bad. I think I won't do that now. If Ming start breaking the things like the royal marriage, like the tribute I'm paying to them, the things that they would need to break in order to declare war on me, then I will release this as a march. Until then, I'm possibly being a bit premature. They might decide, I can keep my fingers crossed, decide to look elsewhere. If they do that, I'm happy to keep the cash flowing in, because I want more money. So, my other issues at the moment, I've got some unrest. But I think that's not too bad. I think that's going to drop down soon, and I don't need to worry about it. My overextension is being dealt with. My stability is positive. My mission, should I choose to accept it, which I have, is to make Yarkland my friend, which is somewhere over here. Yarkland. Well, let's do that here. Let's do that while we're here. Relations actions, improve relation, off you go. Yep. Chum up. Let's all be pals. So what do I do? Well, I need more land. Japan looks like it's in danger of unifying. It's no longer so fractured. I don't want to unify Japan. They're going to want their island back, and if I bog down in a war with them, that's going to expose me to attack by others. So I would rather like to make a quick war to get rid of them, if at all possible. Do I have any claims? I have claims, of course. Not there. Do have claims there. I've got sufficient claims. Can I make any more claims? I certainly can. I think I should do that. Go. Yeah, I'll do that. If I could take another bite out of them, reduce them to an insignificance, take them maybe 2 or 3 more wars, probably more like 3 or 4 actually. But if I could take Japan, that would be a major rival out the way, and it would be very useful to me if I could fully assimilate them. In terms of troops, I'm way beneath my force limit at the moment. I can have up to 32 regiments. I've got 22. I can also have a fair few more naval forces, which I'm focused. I've got some galleys and I've got some light ships. Light ships are handy because, of course, they give trade powers when you send them off to protect trade, which is more cash coming in. Galleys are better for combat, at least in the inland seas around here. Heavy ships, not much use right now because most of the battle, if I'm doing any fighting, it's going to be in these inland seas where galleys have the bonus. As I get out towards the Pacific and where I may be fighting in open seas, the heavy ships are going to come more into their own, but I'll still need more light ships than anything because we always need those for trade, and we use them for exploration as well. So, current objectives then, do I want to build a fort? I think I do want to build a fort, but I don't think I've got the cash for it right now. No, forts are a bit expensive, but I want to build a fort around here. I need to build up my troops. That's what I need. I need to keep it. I don't want to exhaust my manpower. I need to let that build up, but I also need to keep pace with my armies. Keep the numbers up. Here I've got 7 units of infantry and 4 of cav. And here I've got the same. And what's my combat width? Combat width being how many troops you can get basically in a row in a fight. So it's how many. My combat width is currently 9, and when does it next go up? Not until level 9. So okay, so combat width of 9, and as my next improvement in technology gets me cannons for the first time, I might actually want to sit on those troops for troop numbers for a little bit. Because what ideally you want, you have 2 rows in combat, and ideally you want as much of the second row, the back row, to be cannon as possible, because cannons can fire over the front row and still do damage, where other kinds of troops, infantry or cavalry in the back row, do nothing until the front row has been exhausted, and then they move forward and take their turn. So with combat width of 9, and if I'm going to keep 2 units, 18 cannons would be quite handy, although I don't have the manpower for that. I don't have the force limit for that. I don't think it's a bad idea at all to hold on and to try and spam the cash into artillery should I get it. Although there's a risk the manpower would cap out, which would be a bit of a waste in the meantime. We'll see what happens. We'll see what we reach. 1520, and I'm reaching 217 each month. Well, that's not a huge amount. One thing I don't have at the moment are advisors. Up to now, haven't really felt I had the cash for them. I think maybe that's changed now. 633 is not bad, considering I'm in full maintenance for everything. I'm going to drop my army maintenance a bit, take it up, and then I think I'm going to look at getting some advisors which can give bonuses and also increase your monthly monarch points. +2 is too expensive, so I can have prestige for +1, which are the cheapest ones. Both cost the same, 21 gold to hire and 1.4 a month to keep. Oh no, he's a bit cheaper then. Well, about the same, 20. Prestige is good. National tax I think is probably better because I need cash for lots of things. Will he pay for himself? 1.4. What's my current income? 8.2 per month is the is my tax income. So it's currently 821. Let's hire the guy and see if he's worth it. Do you pay your way? Does it go up or down? It goes down, you pillock. You're not so much use, are you? Never mind. Still never... What, it's going down further? Oh. And another idiot heir. Oh, God, I am so blessed. 310 and I've got 213. My first... I'm being punished. My first king was godlike. Okay, diplomatic rep might be handy, but do I want another? I think I need military more at the moment, don't I? But then again, I'm very short on diplo power, so maybe I don't need military more. Diplo rep could be very handy. That could be a good way of keeping people on side. Yeah, let's go with the diplo rep guy. Okay. We'll see if we can... And has this dropped further now? Yes, I thought so. -28. They want my provinces. They want everything, basically. Greedy Ming. But right now, as I said, as long as I'm paying tribute, and I'm happy to pay tribute, as long as it keeps them off my back. Long may that continue. I'd be happy to up it quite a bit as well in order to keep them off my back at the moment. So, and I've got a... well, how did I get an extra diplomat? I had 2 a moment ago. I've got any bonuses going. Yearly prestige, missionary strength, epic, tax income loss, neo-Confucianism, recovering economy. I'm not sure why I've got an extra diplomat, but you know, not going to complain of it. So, not much point trying to improve relations because it's already pretty high, and there's too many minuses there for me to compensate for. So, do I want to try and impress these people? Maybe. They seem to be about... yeah, but they're not going to be that rich or that powerful, though, are they? What about this lot? They've got lots of allies. Let's try... yeah. If I offered them alliance, would they take it? No, they would not. Why not? Distance between borders, neutral attitude, not the same religion, and their opinion. Army strength plus 14, that's already quite good. Diplomatic rep is quite good. If I boost my army strength, that's going to compensate. If I improve, let's try it. It can't hurt. I can always call them back if I need them for something else. Go make them love me. And in the meantime, yes, trade research is heretical. Is it? Diplo power or prestige? What do I? Yeah, a bit shy of Diplo power, aren't I? Don't get a lot of that. Do I want to lose the prestige, though, considering it might be a while before I'm at war again. I'll take the Diplo loss because I don't know when I'm going to be at war again, and the prestige is doing me nicely. I do want Japan, that's what I want. But I want to boost my armies first. I think I'm on speed 4, so that's okay, we'll keep it on speed 4 for now. I just realised I'm not far from being off time for this episode, and all I've done is waffle on, haven't done a huge amount. Perhaps more will happen next time. Mind you, 5 minutes to go, it's quite possible that... Oh, there we go. Invest in a new technology. Yep, there's no reason not to. Let's take it. Allows another group of ideas, so we'll take that too. And as I said, I think we are going with economic ideas this time. Next time, possibly exploration, but for now, economic. We unlocked the economic ideas group. Am I ahead? No, I'm not ahead, but might let somebody. Yeah, that's fine. Japan hates me anyway. Ah, Women of History. This is quite good. This is a DLC they gave for International Women's Day, which is a free add-on, which introduces something which the game sadly overlooked before, which is some of the critical women of history. Although obviously women for a long time, many societies have been patriarchal, and women have played a secondary role. They certainly have played significant roles on occasions. Sorry, quick drink of water. So, what do we have about Hyo Nan... Oof, my word. She has my wife to come in, she could pronounce that properly. Nanseolyeon? Nanseolyeon. Hyo Yop, the father of the poet Hyo Nanseolyeon, is a conservative official with Confucian beliefs, such as something else which is difficult to pronounce. Namjeon Hupi, men above, women below. Phenar. Ignoring her budding talent and curiosity, he left it to her brother, Hyopong, to introduce her to literature. The inscriptions on the ridgepole of the White Jade Pavilion in the Kwang Palace... That's a bit of a long title. You'd run out of characters before you could even tweet that one to tell somebody you'd written it. Was written by her when she was only 8 years old, earning her the epitaph Immortal Maiden. It was recognized as a work of poetic genius. Hyopong introduced her to Chinese writing, such as the Confucian 5 classics, when she showed a natural talent for Hanum verse. Forced into exile because of his political leanings, Hyopong left her further education in the hands of their younger brother, Hyo-Guin. He was a gifted poet who studied under a specialist of Tang poetry, Yi Tal, who took it upon him to share Tang poetry with Nyansun. Are you keeping up? I'll be asking questions later. Tang poetry has influenced her work, shown in the naturalism of her poetry. When Nyansun married Kim Seongnip, her poetry started to lament the plight and sufferings of married women. Her early literature employed folklore and natural imagery, common to Tang tradition, but now her poetry is weighed down with an emotive language. So, what do have? Save a skill to artist. So save her from an unhappy marriage and make her an advisor. So I'd gain a skill to artist. Sadly, I can't really afford to... hang on. 50% cheaper. Now you're talking my language. I am a cheap sort of person. And I think an artist is a philosopher. There you go, there's an artist. It'd still be more expensive, 5.6 per month. So she'd still be more expensive than what I've got. I don't think I can afford her at present, sadly. Just compare with some others. Yeah, I can't. Sorry, I'd love to be able to do that, but I can't do that. I think just nothing but appreciate her poems. For 20 years, we get additional yearly prestige. which is not enough to actually make it a positive each year, but, you know, sorry, you're going to have to stay unhappily married. For now. But that was a nice little bonus. So, if I'm not going to build any more troops until the cannons... Where am I going? Yep. Technology. Ah, good. That should boost my manpower a bit as well. Yeah, 26. It's gone up a bit. When am I going to get this? Oh, 10 years? Good grief. Maybe I do need to invest in a military advisor, even though it's going to tank my cash still further. Do I want to invest in a military survivor? Not really. Discipline's good, reinforced speed is good. Should I swap them for someone? Get rid of this diplomatic rep guy? Don't know. Don't know. What are you doing? Oh, have you made that claim? You have. Do I want more? I think I do want more, don't I? I want as many as I can have, really, because it all reduces my costs later. And let's face it, we are going to war later. Justify trade conflict? Nah. Rima, next. Go. Let's just get everything we can. They hate us anyway. Keep forgetting I've got that little Jeju Island. I've been to Jeju Island, I think. Sure I have. Lovely little place. Almost a garden island, if I remember rightly. Right. So buildings. Yes. Let's see what we can do in terms of buildings. Something for. I've not got many building slots around here, but some of them have all been taken. Need to do some more development, but I need those points for other things too. What else can I do around? Oh, this place hasn't had anything yet. What's the manpower like? Manpower is not bad. What's the trade like? So it's about this. Somewhere that's got two. Where was it? Somewhere there. Nope. There. I've lost it. There we are. Someone's got 2 slots. I knew there was somewhere. Right. That's quite cheap. But anyway. So if I look at the building, how much do I get of buildings? If I do that there, get 250 manpower, which isn't bad. If I build taxation, I get not much. Build production, even less. Build trade, bit meh. Well, I think you have just volunteered to be a recruiting centre. Bang. Because you don't have much else going for you, at the risk of being rude. Got a few 250s there, which would be quite good. 375s, no more 500s. 375 is good. Let's take see of those two, which has got they've both got about the same. So let's build oh, I can't anyway. Not sufficient cash. Fine. I think I'm going to call a halt to this episode for now. Sorry, this has been a bit of a dull one. Didn't expect that to be the case, but I did spend a lot of time theorising about what I'm going to do about Ming, and in the end it didn't do very much about it. So that was productive, I suppose. I have been Blethig. This has been How Do You Solve a Problem Like Korea? Sorry, I've just seen a small message pop up from my recording software. I'm not sure what it means. I'm about to go and investigate. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.